Okay, we're going to work on another one of the new decals that is going to be released at the Glass Expo in April of 2025, in case you're watching this later. So these are three little sassy chicks. I've applied the decal. There's another video showing you how to do that. I am going to flip this over now and do reverse painting. Got it laying here on a paper towel just for ease of moving it. Okay. So you have to think in reverse. I originally did this design on fabric, and I'll show you a picture of it. So what I'm going to do is kind of take off of these colors and do what I can in the glass enamels. So when you're seeing reverse, their glasses are actually the last thing that I painted on the fabric. So those have to be the first thing that we paint on here. The nose would be next, and the eyes, and then like the centers of the flowers, the leaves, and then your base color that's around, the purple, the green, and the aqua color that's behind. So you've got to think backwards when you're doing something like this. So hopefully this will help you. You can always change the colors. But so what I want to do for their glasses, I'm going to use the G301 black, and I'm going to mix the GS504 silver sparkle with it. I'm going to do that in a palette because I don't want to use a cup to do that. So I won't need very much because we're going to double. We're going to do it 50-50. So you're doubling the amount. I stirred up that black before I did that. So I'm going to stir the silver and just pour a little bit of it in there. And it's going to look all completely silver almost when you're applying it. It is going to be underneath. I'm hoping it'll give it some sparkle. If it doesn't give it as much as I want, I will come back after it's been fired and add either some more sparkle on top or even go to the glitz on top. Okay. All right. So I'm going to turn this upside down so the glasses are, well, no. So even though there's a double line on this one, there's just a single on those, but I'm going to make sure that it is definitely a double line. So I'm just going to grab some of that and start applying it. Now, working in reverse, you'll have to let one area dry before you do another so that you can layer your colors in the different areas. And these are small enough lines that you could use the toothpick if you wanted to for your application. Let's do one like that so you have an idea how to do that. I'm just going to take some of that mix on the end of the toothpick. Like I said, it looks silver right now, but it will have the black when it fires. Now, I got really close on that eye there, so I will let that dry, and then I will take some of that out, or you can take a Q-tip like this with a pointed end and take some of that off. These I think I found on Amazon. It's just a makeup Q-tip. Okay, so when you flip that over, it's hard to see it, but you've got your glasses. All right, so then the beak, centers of the flower. So the beak has a little bit of kind of an orangish red to it. So we'll use pumpkin and vermilion. Or again, whenever, I don't know if you can see inside there. I think you can see it right there. You've got liquid and then the color. So definitely if you haven't used, or if you mixed everything up earlier, definitely give everything a good stir. Don't do it directly over your piece because you could drop little dry crumbs in there. Clean your tool before going on to the next color. All right. And of course, can't do the beak because it's close. But we could take and do, let's see, do I have any orange anywhere else? Or red? No, I don't. All right, so I'm going to set those with the lids on them. I'll come back to that. And let's do all the little tiny flowers on their clothes is like a pink and a darker pink and maybe some yellow in there. So I'm going to choose Tea Rose and Rosewater Pink 333, 334. And if you wanted a little center on those, you could dab in a little bit of the 322. So I'm going to give those a stir. This one seems a little thick, so I'm going to add a couple of drops. Okay, so with the yellow, the 322, I'm just going to kind of dab a little bit in the center of the flowers, because normally that would be the last thing that I do. So we don't have to be perfect. And these are little tiny. I'm going to come just a little bit closer so you can see those better. So it's just a smidge. You do have flowers up here, so we'll add that yellow. Remember, the yellow that you're seeing on the decal is what keeps it bonding to the glass, and it will burn away. So all there will be the black lines. Okay. And I'm not worried about these colors staying exactly the color. I'm just going to kind of grab some of them and kind of dab it on there. Grab a little bit of the 34 and dab it on there. And just kind of go back and forth. Maybe put a little bit on some of these. Grab that darker. These I just saw a center of a flower. I forgot. I'm going to do just the light on these, the light yellow. So I forgot the center of this flower here. You can see as the color starts to dry, it gets chalky looking here. Those are wet that are more shiny. All right, then we'll do both colors on these. So I'm just going to kind of dab it. This is not supposed to exactly look like a flower. I mean, it is, but it's kind of an abstract. Okay. Got all those on there. It kind of looks green, but it's not. It's a yellow. All right, so then this flower up here is a pink one. So are this head feathers. So what I'm going to do is I'll do the feather ones to give those centers just a little bit longer time to dry. So I'm just going to drop and fill and just kind of flood in. I'm going to do 2 areas at once. Wipe off the excess. Grab my darker pink. I am going to get my toothpick and I'm just going to kind of scratch that dark into that area so that it drags lines. You could use some purple in there too if you wanted. I think I'll just stick with the pinks. You have a small area you can't get with the brush, you can take the toothpick. That was a little much. Let's try it. We'll have to probably take some of that off. Because remember, this is going to be behind, so you won't necessarily see everything that you're putting in there. You'll have to kind of make it up. All right, so this one is dry, but those leaves are behind it. So I need to do these little, I'm going to grab the 34 and just add a little bit of that there. let's see. I think we can do the beaks. So with that pumpkin, 318 pumpkin, and the 310 vermilion, we wanted a little darker next to the head. So I'm going to grab the 310, the vermilion, and then go straight into the 318. Once again, you can use your toothpick. Use your toothpick to get your fine point. Kind of scratch some of that in. Whoops, red next to the head. Okay. All right, let's see. I don't think there's anything else with those colors. We could put a little bit of the red on their cheeks. I think I'll use the mini Sumi brush. This is the mini. It's a soft, natural squirrel hair. And I'm just going to grab some of that red vermilion and just kind of tap it in on their cheeks. Some of the cheek would be up there. Because it didn't have to be really pronounced. No, that looks weird. You got to think reverse. Let's see. We need to do the white highlight in the eye. That would be first. While we're... Oops, I didn't mix up any white. Okay. Let me reconstitute this. All right, so all we need is a little dot off to one side. I'm going to use the toothpick. And let's see, I went out. Should be the right side or the left side on everything. I just saw it. Some little crumb just fell on there, so let's get that off. And remember, this is the one that I should have scraped some of that black and silver off. Okay. Let's flip it over and look at it real quick. Okay. merged a little bit. I'm going to separate that. Okay, we've got this larger flower is a pink combination. I'm going to use the same two pinks. Oh no, I was going to do the leaves first. Bad me. Like I said, it's hard to think in reverse. So I'm going to pick 360 key lime and 362 laurel. I am probably going to use the toothpick because these are so small. Like really super small. None on that one. We've got some down here. We do have little ones on all of these. So I'm just going to dab a little bit of color. Just kind of alternating back and forth. And since there's no outline for those leaves on here, they're just going to be, in the background. Okay, so same thing goes on this one. And you can just do them one color. You don't have to put two different colors on there. All right, so let's put some over here on this one. I used, instead of this darker green, I actually used like a teal color. So let's go to 357 teal, just to make it a little bit different. Let's have a leaf over here. Maybe one there coming out from underneath. Okie doke. Let's do, while we've got the teal out, we're going to do the belt. Okay, that was the 357 teal. Then we're going to use the 362 laurel, and we're going to do the little belt loops. All right, so we need the blue in the eyes. Let's do the light cerulean 350. No, excuse me, we need the black and then the blue. All right, I'm just going to grab the, I don't know if I want that. Let's use the RD66 wipeout tool. And that's going to cover that white. And then when that dries, we'll take the blue and extend it further out. Okay, let's go back to, I got the pink. This one over here is a pink flower. So using those same two pinks, I'm actually going to use the RD tool. This is the one I want. Yeah. Maybe not. Thinking the toothpick will be better. They're tiny. All right, then the one on the back side of her head is a pink and a purple. So I'm going to go with the bright violet, which is separated in there. See that? I'm going to mix that back up. And it's got the pink, so I'm going to use the 34 pink towards the middle. And then I'll pick up the purple and put it on the outside. I'll come back with the toothpick in a minute. And then this other one is a darker purple with a little bit of pink. And just switch to, you could use the same purple. You could actually reverse them. The tail feathers over here are the pink and purple. Did the pink. Make sure I got the right one. Yes. Kind of halfway down. Wipe off that excess, grab that purple. Okay, while we're letting some of those dry, let's do this 37 and let's put 332 deep cranberry as this other flower up here. So we're going to put the purple on the outside. And since they're so small, I'm just going to put dots. I can always scratch it in. And grab the 332 deep cranberry and put that towards the inside. And then take your toothpick and scratch it. We can use the cranberry, put the purple away, and do tea rose for this other flower down here. And grab the cranberry. Okay. For these tail feathers over here, I had them done in blues. So let's do the cerulean and deep cerulean. So 350 and 352. So light to the outside. Grab your deep cerulean. Toothpick. Let's do a quick look-see. If I can get it flipped over. Cute. Okay. This is also on her head feathers the same way. Grab your darker color. All right, I think that's the only place I want those. We need to do the flower over here, which is those pinks. Let's do tea rose and rose water. Same ones we used earlier. That one's pretty small. I'll try to do the toothpick on it, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. All right, looks like we can do the cerulean on the eyes. Although I may want to do I may want to wait and scratch some of that out. I think I'll wait a little bit. Now we've got these little sprays up here, and actually I put one up here that is not on the pattern. But, all right, so now we're going to these little sprays coming out. So I've got what did I get? 661. So see, this is real easy to do with the toothpick because you can draw those little lines, and I'm going to add more in here even if there's not lined, because you don't need everything outlined. And I'm going to add a little bit kind of coming off of this up here. All right, that's the only place that I had them. Okie doke. The belt. So 360 key lime on this center one's belt. Do I want to do that? Yeah, I guess. And then I need to do these, which are purple and like a sapphire, to really brighten her up. So we're still going to use the bright violet, and we're going to add the sapphire blue, 343. Okay, these are pretty small, so I'm going to use the toothpick again. Get the sapphire. And I'm going to start at the body and pull that out into it. And I can scratch some of that off and define them a little bit more later. All right, so her belt, which I can't do yet because that flower is wet, but we'll do it with the sapphire. All right, I'm going to let this dry so I can scratch away some of that black on the eye to add some blue. Okay. So if you need to scratch any of that off, you can. It's such a tiny area. And then I'll take the cerulean 350. And I'm just going to add that. Tiny, tiny area. And we'll add some white to it also. Okay, let's do their shoes. I'm going to do those in a pink and a purple. So we'll go back to that 34 and 37. Tea rose and bright violet. Turn this kind of sideways. Whoops. No. Just noticed I've got a couple of dots of yellow down there. Always check your glass before when you're done to make sure you haven't dropped anything. Okay, so same thing goes here. I'm going to go pink to the tip, and then purple, and just kind of wiggle them back and forth. Remember, this is a tiny area, so definitely the toothpick is the way to go. So just tap it, let it fall down, and then guide it where you want it. I know that one went down a little too far. I'm just going to lift some of that off. All right. Okay, those are done. Okay, that flower looks like it's dry enough that we can put the blue, the 43, is it 343 sapphire blue, on our belt up here. Okay, that is done. So the next thing would be to put the clothes on top of the other color. So I want to use some 338 Orchid Bloom and the 37 on, I'll show you here. So this one's lighter at the bottom, a little bit darker towards the top. This one is more just pretty much key lime with a little bit of shading at the top. This one is mint julep is what we're going to put on that particular one. Okay. So to do this, we're just going to kind of pat it on. That would give us I'm going to mix this up, I mottled some darker, lighter areas, which is good for this particular thing. Probably should wait just a little bit. I am going to turn it upside down because that way I can do the purple at the bottom, lighter purple. So I'm just going to take and tap it right on top of what's already there. That's going to help it with being more opaque. So I'm going to come about halfway up, maybe a little bit more there. Don't mess with it, because if you start messing with it, you're going to loosen up what's underneath. And then turn it back around and grab the 37, and I'm going to add it. And I should have let my belt dry. I can tell you that right now. Hopefully that won't bleed. So I can bring a little bit of this down here and in here. That'll just kind of deepen that a little bit. Okay. The rest of it's going to be yellow. Let's grab the mint julep. That's on this far one. I'm going to let this dry so those two don't merge there in the middle. So again, this is 355 mint julep. Lots of colors on these little guys. You don't have to do it that way. You can just leave it as line art if you wanted to. All right, so same thing here. I'm going to dab. Okay. And as soon as that one in the middle dries a little bit, we'll use the key lime on it with a little bit. Put a little bit of 62, the laurel, at the top, only because it needs a little shading up underneath the belt. And to make it, because the belt was 60 and the loops are 62, so we need to have some contrast between them. And then flip and look. Then we'll do the yellow for their heads and everything. All their feathers. So there is some eyelids where it's like almost like eyeshadow, I guess I should say. I'm going to use the 351, and that toothpick. Mix that up a little bit. And there's just, that was way too much. We do have to put some white in the other part of the eye before we're done. I better set it out so I don't forget it. And then as far as their feathers, I'm going to use 22, 24, and 25. So lemon peel, yellow ochre, and curry is my game plan for those. So any of the chick decals, you could use this color combination. Just think about what's sitting on top. Do it first when you're looking at it. and then work your way back, which means I should have really done these feathers here, these here and here. Yeah, probably should have done those first and then put the clothes on, but that's okay. We'll make it work. Okay, we are ready to do the bottom or the pants on this center little gal, and I'm going to use the 362 Laurel and 360 Key Lime. Make sure those are stirred up well. All right, so I need a little bit of dark at the top of this one. So I'm just going to take the brush and kind of pat it in, like underneath that belt, just a little bit to give it like a shadow. And then I'll wipe my brush and go to the key lime. I'm just putting it over all of that. It's kind of patting and blending. Okay. And then while that one's drying, we will work on the other two as far as the feathers. So ideally underneath each section, like right in here, is going to be a little bit darker. It's going to be lighter out on the tips. Okay, so I'm going to turn it around just to make it easier for me. I've got 322, 324, and 325. I'm going to do these in sections. So I'm going to start with the 22, and I'm going to lay some of that down. But then I'm going to grab into the 24 and add some of it in there. And then some of the 25. Now, in order for this to show, we have to do the toothpick. Wipe that off. Actually, I'm going to turn it back around. So I'm going to start with the darker up here, the 25, 325. You can even stroke a little bit down, then grab your 24, kind of shimmy that, and use your toothpick. And then we'll get some of that 22 at the bottom. Okay, let's go up here. Go right over those cheeks. And just work your way down to your lighter colors. I'm just kind of dropping it on my piece. Put it on the tips here, and then I'm going to pull it through with the toothpick. This little portion out here, I'm just going to do the lighter yellow, since that's kind of all you see. And then we'll add a little touch of the darker in here. We can go over here and work on this little wing. We need to do like the middle yellow for their legs. You could do any color, but I'm going to use the 24. Okay. And then we can do a little up here on the top. This one, put some dark. And then your middle. And then some light. Toothpick. Okay, so on the eyes, we need to have yellows back there because that's the face. Oops, I was doing the lighter yellow. So make sure that's on there. Not as much. There might be a little bit there. So just work with all your yellows. Kind of add some of all of them for light, for highlights, shadows with the darker one. Let a section dry and then work on the next section. So right now we're in drying time. Well, I can do that one, I guess. So I'm going to go dark over the cheeks. And then the middle yellow. Then the lightest yellow. Oops, I forgot about the cheek there. I gotta be careful. I think I just moved that. I'll have to check it on the front. Okay. All right, then I'll come back and do those other sections as soon as they dry a little bit on these other two. And then we will be done. All right, let's finish these. That dark underneath. Then go to your medium. And your light. And below that is another layer, so I'm just going to add the dark in there. And then when I move the toothpick around, it'll just kind of shade it all. Okay. Okay, and then we can do the same on this little guy over here. And then you've got a little spot down here that's dark. Okay. I will flip it over quickly and let you see it. Cute. All right, we will let this dry, and then I'm placing it on a piece of white glass. White is going to be your friend as far as making the colors seem brighter. If I can pick this white up. So we'll have white behind it, and I made this one just slightly larger so it'll give it a frame, and then the clear will be there in the middle. So I will take a picture before it's fired, and then I will show it to you after it's fired and put a firing schedule at the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the project, and like I said, any of the other sassy little chicks, I've got other ones I'm going to paint, but they're all done pretty much the same way. So like here is another version, so you would go about it the same way. And then there is this one. So they're a little bit different. They don't have the flowers and stuff. You could always put flowers on them. And then I have this taller version that I've done in ceramics. And I will tape that one, but the other two chicks, I may just, I'll videotape it, but there probably won't be any sound, and just walk you through the colors that I used on it. All right, happy painting.